I never thought a mirror could change everything. But that's exactly what happened when I scrolled through Facebook Marketplace one rainy Tuesday afternoon. My apartment was a mess. Bare walls in the living room, a couch that sagged like it had given up on life, and not a single thing to make the place feel like home. I'd been saving for furniture, but prices were insane. So I dove into Marketplace, hunting for deals. That's when I saw it. A tall antique mirror, ornate frame carved with swirling vines and faded gold leaf, leaning against a garage wall in the listing photo. The seller called it vintage vanity piece. Must go quick, $50 OBO, $50? For something that looked like it belonged in a museum? I messaged right away. Is it still available? I'll take it as is. The response came fast. Yep. Come pick it up today. Address in bio. Cash only. No questions about condition, no haggling. It felt too easy, but I grabbed my keys and headed out, excitement bubbling up despite the downpour. The drive took me to the edge of town, past strip malls and into a neighborhood of sagging porches and overgrown lawns. The house was a two-story Victorian, paint peeling like old skin, windows dark except for a flicker in the upstairs. A woman in her 60s answered the door, her hair tied back in a loose bun, eyes darting like she couldn't wait to get rid of me. The mirror's in the garage, she said, not inviting me in, just pointing around the side. I followed the cracked driveway, rain soaking my shoes, and there it was, wrapped in a ratty tarp. Up close, the frame was even more intricate. Roses twisting into thorns, almost alive under my fingers. I unwrapped it carefully, tilting the glass to catch the dim light. My reflection stared back, tired from work, but something about the edges seemed off, like the silvering was patchy in places. Any history to this? I asked as I hauled it into my trunk, straining under the weight. She hesitated, then shrugged. Found it in the attic when we moved in. Husband didn't like it, said it gave him headaches. Take it, it's yours. I handed over the cash, thanked her, and drove off, the mirror thumping softly against the spare tire with every bump. Back at my place, a cramped one-bedroom walk-up, I wrestled the thing inside and propped it against the living room wall opposite my bed. It filled the space perfectly, turning the empty corner into something elegant, almost regal. I stepped back, admiring how it caught the late afternoon sun filtering through the blinds, casting warm glows across the scuffed hardwood. Dinner that night was takeout Thai, eaten cross-legged on the floor while I snapped a quick before and after photo for my friends. Score! I captioned it and the likes rolled in. Sleep came easy, the mirror's presence a quiet comfort in the dark. The first weird thing happened around 3 a.m. I woke up thirsty, padding to the kitchen for water, and as I passed the living room, I swear I heard a sigh, like someone letting out a long, weary breath. I froze, glass halfway to my lips, heart picking up speed. The apartment was silent otherwise, just the hum of the fridge and distant traffic. Probably the neighbor's TV, I told myself, or the wind rattling the window. I glanced at the mirror out of habit, and there I was, pale and wide-eyed in the moonlight. But for a split second, before I blinked, the reflection lingered a beat too long, mouth slightly open as if echoing that sigh. I shook it off, chugged the water, and crawled back into bed, pulling the covers over my head like a kid scared of monsters. Morning brought coffee and denial. Work was a slog. Endless emails at the call center, voices droning about billing disputes, but by evening, I was buzzing to get home and see how the mirror looked in full light. I lit a couple of candles on the coffee table, their flames dancing in the glass, and it was beautiful. I stood there for ages, tilting my head, practicing smiles like I was getting ready for a date that wasn't happening. That's when I noticed the smudge. A faint handprint on the lower right corner, greasy and child-sized, right where my fingers hadn't touched. I wiped it with my sleeve, but it smeared instead of cleaning, leaving a streak that smelled faintly of lavender soap. Odd, but mirrors get fingerprints. I let it go, ordered pizza, and binge-watched a show until my eyes burned. Over the next few days, the little things piled up. I'd catch glimpses in the reflection that didn't match. Like one evening, I was laughing at a text from my sister, but in the mirror, my face stayed neutral, eyes fixed on something behind me. I whipped around, but the room was empty, just shadows from the lamp. Another time, while brushing my teeth in the bathroom mirror, I heard faint laughter from the living room, high and tinkling like a girl's. Rushing out, toothbrush still in mouth, I saw nothing, but the big mirror showed my foaming reflection doubled, as if someone small stood just out of frame, peeking over my shoulder. I started avoiding it at night, draping a sheet over the top half when I went to bed, telling myself it was dust or bad angles playing tricks. By Friday, curiosity won out. I messaged the seller again. Hey, quick question. Did the mirror come from somewhere special? Just love the detail. Hours passed before she replied. Attic, like I said. Old family stuff. Why? I typed back about the handprints, the size, but deleted it. Sounded crazy. Instead, I said, no reason, thanks, and dove into Google. Haunted mirrors pulled up forums full of ghost stories. Reflections that moved on their own. Whispers from the past. Even possessions. One thread mentioned mirrors trapping souls, especially antiques from old houses. I laughed it off, but that night, as I undressed for bed, the sheet slipped, and in the glass, I saw not just me, but a flicker of white. A dress? A figure? It vanished when I lunged forward, heart slamming. Sleep was fitful, dreams of endless hallways lined with mirrors, each showing a different version of me, screaming silently. Saturday morning, I decided to dig deeper. The seller's profile was sparse, just the house listing and a few cat memes. But her name was Evelyn Hargrove, and a quick search turned up an obituary from 2 years back for a Thomas Hargrove. Her husband died of a sudden illness. No details, but the photo showed a stern man with hollow cheeks. The house address led to property records. Built in 1892, previous owners the Whitmans, a family of 5 until 1923, when the parents and 2 kids perished in a fire. The oldest daughter, Eliza, survived, barely, and lived there alone until the 50s. Whispers of tragedy, but nothing solid. I bookmarked it all, then uncovered the mirror itself. A reverse image search on the frame design matched a style from early 1900s New England, often used in vanity sets for young ladies. Eliza Whitman had been 15 when the fire took her family. Coincidence? My stomach twisted as I stared at the listing photo again. That attic? Dark, dusty, full of ghosts. I spent the afternoon cleaning, hoping activity would shake the unease. Dusting the frame revealed more carvings. Tiny initials etched into the vines, E.W. Eliza Whitman. Chills ran down my spine, but I kept going, polishing the glass until it gleamed. As the cloth glided over the surface, I felt a cool draft, like breath on my neck, and in the reflection, my hand paused mid-swipe while the real one kept moving. I dropped the rag, backing away, breath coming in gasps. This isn't real, I whispered, but the words echoed oddly, as if the mirror swallowed them and spat them back distorted. That evening, friends came over, Jake and Mia, for pizza and beers. I didn't mention the weirdness. Instead, I poured drinks and cranked music to drown out doubts. But as we laughed on the couch, Mia glanced at the mirror and went quiet. Cool piece, she said finally, but her eyes were wide. Where'd you get it? Marketplace, I told her, keeping it light. Later, when she slipped to the bathroom, Jake leaned in. Dude, that thing's creepy. Feels like it's watching us. I forced a chuckle, but when Mia returned, she added, yeah, and did you see that? In the glass. Thought I saw a kid's face for a sec. We all stared then, the party fizzling as reflections held steady, mocking us with normalcy. They left early, promising to text, but I could tell they'd think twice before coming back. Alone again, the apartment closed in. I sat on the floor, back to the wall, scrolling through more research on my phone. Eliza Whitman's story unfolded in yellowed newspaper scans. The fire started in the kitchen, blamed on a faulty lamp, but rumors swirled of arguments, a mother's despair over debts. Eliza pulled from the rubble with burns on her arms, clutching a singed doll. She never married, became reclusive, and locals said the house wept at night. Windows rattling, lights flickering without cause. When she died, the contents went to auction, but the mirror, unlisted, perhaps passed down or hidden. By midnight, exhaustion hit, but as I brushed my teeth, the laughter returned, clearer now, accompanied by a soft humming. A lullaby off-key and mournful. I spat out the paste and marched to the living room, yanking off the sheet. Show yourself, I demanded, voice shaking. The glass rippled like water, and there she was. A girl, no more than 10, in a white nightgown, hair in braids, standing where I wasn't. Her eyes were huge, pleading, mouth moving without sound. Help, it seemed to say, or maybe home. I stumbled back, tripping over the coffee table, crashing to the floor. The vision faded, leaving only my terrified face, but the humming lingered in my ears. Sunday blurred into panic. I called in sick to work, barricaded in the bedroom with the door locked, mirror covered in trash bags and tape. But sounds seeped through, footsteps padding across the living room, small and tentative, like a child exploring. Then knocks, light raps on the wood, as if tiny fists begged entry. Go away, I muttered, but guilt gnawed at me. What if she was trapped? What if the fire hadn't claimed her fully, her spirit bound to the glass that survived the blaze? By afternoon, I couldn't take it. I armed myself with sage from a corner store. Ridiculous, but the clerk swore it worked, and crept out, lighting the bundle until smoke curled thick. Waving it before the mirror, I chanted half-remembered words from YouTube. Release what's held, let peace return. The air grew heavy, the smoke swirling unnaturally, drawn toward the glass like a magnet. Then the knocks turned to sobs, wrenching cries that tore at my chest. I dropped the sage, flames licking the rug, and tore off the coverings. She appeared fully now, Eliza, but older, 15, face gaunt from smoke, arms wrapped in bandages that seeped shadow. Mama? She whispered, voice tinny, echoing from the frame. Not to me, to the empty room. I froze, then stepped closer, heart pounding. Eliza? Is that you? Her reflection turned, eyes locking on mine, not seeing through but into. The fire. They left me. Locked the door. Her words spilled out, fragmented, a story pouring from cracked lips. The parents had argued, debts crushing them. The mother, in madness, barred the children's room to save them from the world, then torched the house in a final, twisted act. Eliza had smashed the mirror to escape, shards cutting her as she clawed free. But in the breaking, something shattered inside her too. Her soul splintered, half fleeing the flames, half trapped in the fractured glass. Generations later, it mended in that attic, calling her back. Evelyn's husband had heard her first, the headaches his warning, but he dismissed it until the end, dying alone with her whispers in his ears. Tears streamed down my face, mirroring hers. I'm sorry, I said, pressing my palm to the cool glass. It warmed under my touch, vibrating like a heartbeat. What can I do? She reached out, handprint forming where mine pressed, the lavender scent blooming strong. Free me. Burn it. Simple, terrifying. I nodded, grabbing a hammer from the kitchen drawer, the one I'd used to hang pictures that never got hung. But as I raised it, doubt flooded in. $50 for beauty, for a story. Could I destroy it? Her eyes pleaded, the humming rising to a wail. I swung, glass cracking with a sound like thunder, shards exploding outward in a spray of silver and memory. The frame splintered, vines crumbling to dust, and with the final blow, a rush of wind howled through the room, extinguishing the candles, ripping photos from the walls. Eliza's form dissolved in a burst of light, her sigh now one of release, fading into silence. The apartment fell still, debris crunching under my feet as I swept up the pieces. No more footsteps, no laughter, just the quiet of a space reclaimed. I hauled the wreckage to the curb in black bags, anonymous as trash, and watched the garbage truck swallow it whole the next morning. Work called me back, friends texted apologies for bailing, and life stitched itself together, thread by thread. But sometimes, in the bathroom mirror or a shop window, I catch a glimpse. A small hand waving goodbye, or a braid in the corner of my eye. It's not fear anymore. It's a reminder. That marketplace deal taught me things can't be bought cheap without cost. That reflections hold more than faces. And that some homes aren't built of brick, but of unbroken promises. I scroll less now, shop in stores where histories are labeled, but deep down, I know, the best finds are the ones that find you even if they come wrapped in thorns. Weeks passed, and the empty wall gaped like a missing tooth. I toyed with buying a TV to fill it, something modern and mindless, but nothing stuck. One evening, scrolling out of habit, another listing popped up. Antique frame pieces, free to good home, from a broken vanity set.